What is up, Hawk fans? We have a few things to discuss this morning for me, and whatever time it is for you when you guys watch this. Number one, Omar Young is expected to be hired as Iowa's new running backs coach. Right off the bat, I would say from what it looks, he has more experience than Liddell Betts did as far as coaching before coming to Iowa. By the way, guys, we are going to talk a little bit more about Iowa basketball, specifically Owen Freeman, and some of the comments that I've seen in the comment section and kind of their thought process. Let's see. Omar Young has had a lot of short stints at places. It seems like the biggest reason why he likely got this job is because of his connection with the Green Bay Packers. Probably during, I haven't verified this, but I'm sure it was during the same time Tim Lester was there, or at the very least, Tim Lester knows people who he coached with at Green Bay that coached with Omar Young. He was at Green Bay from 2017 to 2018 as an analyst or as a quality control / running backs coach. Before or after that, he was with Eastern Illinois for a couple of years, South Carolina for 1 year as a running backs and analyst. Cleveland Browns 2015 quality control special teams defense at Colorado. The Browns, he was a running backs coach, offensive assistant. So the job that he has had the most is definitely running backs coach. He's fairly young at 41, not the youngest, but fairly young. To me, being young in coaching is anything below the age of 45. Some would say 50. I think it used to be below the age of 50. But now, if you look at the age of some coaches, it has drastically gone down. Younger coaches increasingly, especially if they played like Liddell Betts, they are increasingly given opportunities that maybe in previous times they would not have received. So, but he's young enough, and like I said, he does appear to have more coaching experience. Personally, for the running backs position specific, I think that this is the case for every position, really. And I think Iowa has done a good job in recent years of doing this. But like the running backs coach, the wide receivers coach, I think it does help, especially in recruiting, if you can land a coach that does have high-level playing experience. Liddell Betts was like a home run hire. Because the only thing that he didn't really have was a ton of coaching experience, but you can figure out how knowledgeable somebody is about the position or coaching in general by just meeting with him. Obviously, on-the-job experience and results are important as well, but Liddell Betts played at Iowa, was super successful at Iowa, is one of the best running backs in Iowa history, played in the NFL, was successful in the NFL. He could speak to recruits in the state of Florida, as he had a ton of, that's where he came from, was the state of Florida. That's where he coached in high school, if I remember correctly. That's why his recruiting area was Florida. He would be able to sell those recruits the vision that he experienced himself. Like who knew it better than Liddell Betts? So, and I think players connect a little bit better with coaches that have played at a high level. It's kind of like one of those situations where game recognizes game, and that's why they say when it comes to recruiting, when you are able to land this player that's a 4 or 5 star, they tend to attract other high-level players because game wants to play with game. Talent wants to play with talent. So I think this is a good hire. He's from Oakland, so he coached at De Anza, which I played against them in water polo in my 2 years playing junior college. And it's one of the better schools in the Bay Area or in California for junior college. And, there's a good chance with his connections and NFL connections and experience that he will be able to land at least one running back per cycle from the state of California. Maybe not per cycle, but every now and again, which is really all you need. His main position that he's going to be recruiting is the running backs position. So, that's kind of what you're looking for in a running backs coach, is some of those things. But specifically with recruiting, you're looking for a guy that can pull from his connections and network, specifically from like more talent-rich areas, Florida, California, Texas, and it looks like he'll be able to do that. So, and he does kind of have some spread out experience across the country, but my guess is his primary recruiting area that he is going to leverage will be the state of California, because that is where he is from. So, so anyways, and there's another element that I like with this hire. I'm not going to say it, but there is another element to it. I just suffice it to say, I believe that he will be able to connect on a more personal level with the running backs that he is going to be recruiting. All right, moving this on to, so I actually recorded this and then I stopped because I wasn't keen on necessarily posting it. Sometimes that happens. I'll start recording and I'm like, maybe I'll just let it be. But then I saw the news of Owen Freeman hitting the transfer portal. And so I just wanted to talk about the Fran McCaffrey situation a little bit more in light of the video yesterday. So the thing is, there's some of you guys that really dislike Fran McCaffrey. Okay, and just like on the football side there, and I see this on Facebook, I see this on Twitter or X, and I see this in my comment section. There are some of you guys that really hate Kirk Ferentz, and a lot of it is deserved, but especially with Fran McCaffrey, because he was kind of abrasive, he kind of was sassy, he had. Especially early on in his time at Iowa, he was very emotional at times, and he'd get the technical fouls, and he was known for the face and all that stuff, and some people don't like that. I could give two craps about that. I know that behind the scenes, all coaches get after it. Okay. Have you ever seen a UConn coach or UConn practice? I recommend you go and check it out. And I just know from my playing experience as well that that's the case. I just want to say this comment once and for all. Okay. For those of you guys that believe that this was an easy slam dunk, obvious decision to part ways with Fran McCaffrey, you are just lying to yourself. Number one, he's going to be owed money, okay? And I already said that I don't personally believe that that's always a reason why you should stick it out with a coach. Your number one priority needs to be to win and to develop high caliber, talented players. And then, of course, you have ticket sales and stuff like that, okay? And on top of that, you have the price of hiring a coach away, a.k.a. Darian DeVries, from a different school. Now, Me pointing that out is not saying that in the end it's not worth it, because it very well might be. Again, personally, I believe that you should always be striving for more. Yes, you should be honest about the resources that you have and kind of where you're at, but you should always be setting goals as a program to elevate the specific team or sport that you're overseeing. And as an athletic department, that should be done as well. If you're not doing that, you're going to stay stagnant. And I do think at times the University of Iowa has kind of had that approach, especially Iowa fans, where they're like, this is good enough. This is sufficient. And, I don't want more, because wanting more is too scary. And we deserve to be bad, and we're so lucky we're good. No. That's ridiculous. No. Iowa has a great fan base. The university's a great university. No, it's not in the most talent-rich area, but they still have a lot of good things to sell. Okay? So that is that. However, when it comes to that, just to wrap it up, I do think that you should always be striving for more, but I don't think there's anything wrong with considering the monetary expenses. You don't, at the end of the day, the school still is a business, and they need to manage it wisely. Now, with all of that said also, and this is the biggest thing that I want to point out, those of you who think that it was an obvious slam dunk decision to part ways with the winningest coach in Iowa basketball history, you are just lying to yourself. You're just lying to yourself, and you're not being honest, because this simply just was not a situation where it was clear cut Fran McCaffrey needed to go. Now, it was approaching that. And some people obviously are at different points in what that means and how close it was to the edge. And personally, I did think that it was there, and I have said that I was okay with either or decision, getting rid of him or keeping him for one more year. That's where I was at. I was never, hell bent on, personally, he needs to stay. I was just coming from a perspective of being charitable and keeping in mind how many games Fran McCaffrey has won. Fran McCaffrey, at the end of the day, is not a bad basketball coach. There's a reason why the guy has won so many games. And all of this does not take away from the fact that Iowa basketball does struggle with resources comparatively. Now, as I alluded to in my previous video, yes, the coach and his ability to energize and excite the fan base and the donors does play a factor in all of that. And Fran McCaffrey struggled towards the end in doing all of that. He struggled. And in the end, all of these like death by 1,000 paper cuts is what did him in. And I'm okay with that. I have never not acknowledged these things about Fran McCaffrey. In my video yesterday, and for many videos, I have said Fran McCaffrey, and here's the thing that I want to abundantly say. Name one channel or media Iowa content creator that has been as honest about the discrepancies of Iowa sports than myself. And yes, you know what? That might be arrogant to point out. So be it. That's how I am. It is what it is. If you don't like it, like I said, there's other channels to watch. I have always said and always pointed out the truth of the situation. If they are falling short, if the product is not good enough, I am not somebody that's going to come up and just, tail ride because I don't want to ruin the connections I have with the university, or because I'm such a big Iowa fan that I think it's disloyal to criticize Iowa sports. No, that's not me. Like I said, name a one channel that is as honest and transparent about this stuff than mine. I'll wait. But at the same time, I do think that there are a lot of Iowa fans that, and I'm not saying that this is the case with you guys watching now, okay? But there are a lot of Iowa fans that kind of built into their personality type is kind of this like pessimistic, black-pilled, black pill just means like very negative about things. It's like red pill, blue pill, white pill, black pill. White pill is optimistic. It's like X stuff and Twitter stuff. I think there's a lot of fans that are that way, that are very pessimistic, and just it kind of feeds into that personality type, and then they end up just calling for the heads of every coach that coaches at Iowa as soon as they start losing a game or two. And again, but my last point as I bring this forward to Owen Freeman, again, to pretend as if this was clear cut when Fran McCaffrey was the winningest coach in Iowa history, and the last losing season he had, he directly turned it around. And just 2 years prior had aided Iowa into multiple years in a row making the NCAA tournament is ridiculous. Did those teams reach the pinnacle that they should have? No. And again, that is the problem. Iowa not reaching the pinnacle that they should. Fran McCaffrey not exciting the fan base. Sales prices going down. I acknowledge all of those things. But to pretend like the other element, namely his past success, winning a Big Ten championship, is not included in why this was not as clear-cut a decision, it's just dishonest. It's dishonest. And I do want to directly comment. I saw somebody say in the comment section that even if Iowa has multiple losing seasons in a row, this will still be the right decision. I guess I understand that in theory, but no, I don't see how that can possibly be true. Because if Iowa struggles for the next 5 years, and you can directly look back at being able to hold on to Fran McCaffrey with the talent that he had, and there was a good chance, even though it would have been much of the same, but still, Fran McCaffrey towards his best as NCAA tournament team. No, those 5 years of poor play would not be placate and be better than the talent that was coming back the following year. So that's just ludicrous. That makes no sense to me. How it just doesn't. If you directly struggle after firing a coach, there's many programs that have done that. Nebraska. Would you say the same thing about Nebraska getting rid of Bo Pelini? I think most people logically would say no. It would have just been better had they been patient and held on to him just for a little bit longer to make sure that they had a better option rather than rushing it. And they had a for sure or close to a for sure contingency plan or change in the horizon. But with all that said, again, I am not against Fran being fired. I'm totally okay with him being fired. I have always acknowledged his shortcomings. To pretend like me saying only 1 year him coming back longer was like this massive thing, I think is crazy. that is crazy. At most, I said that I'd be okay or open to the idea of him coming back for one more season, given the talent he has. Which brings me to my final point of the talent that Iowa did have. If you can't see, even in a losing season, which was largely because you're kind of playing both sides of the fence. On one hand, if you're going to give a ton of responsibility to Fran McCaffrey for the coaching issues, you can't simultaneously be super critical of the talent. So, which one is it? Is it the lack of talent, or is it Fran McCaffrey? I mean, I guess it can be a little bit of both, but everybody knows that Iowa has solid young talent. Everybody knows this. This is why Owen Freeman could have left last year and landed with a massive NIL deal. Okay, I guarantee that, and this is how we know that this is the case. If Iowa loses 5 of their top players, especially the younger ones, or even Josh Dix, mark my words, those guys are going to land at really solid programs for a really solid price tag. And that indicates the talent that they do have. So, to me, that was the only thing really that I was open to, was the talent that Iowa had, the young talent that was coming up. But I do understand, at the end of the day, if you don't have the right coach in there, you're not going to get the most out of the talent no matter what. And that's why I said I was always okay with Fran McCaffrey being exited as the coach, because, odds were he was not going to change. But again, there's something to be said about a coach that has won so many games to where you're willing to maybe give him one more year, one more shot at fixing things. So those are just kind of my thoughts on it, on the situation and kind of the comments that I've seen. And by the way, guys, you're entitled to your opinion on the matter. We're all fans here. But I think it's a little unfair towards me to pretend like I am not the only one that is somewhat honest and transparent about the Iowa football and Iowa basketball program. And yes, I was correct in pointing out Beth Gates and how she would likely be the reason that if Fran McCaffrey was fired, she would likely be the reason he was. So with that said, Owen Freeman did announce that he is hitting the transfer portal. There's a good chance he would have hit the transfer portal even if Fran McCaffrey returned. It's a big loss. It is a big loss, but the thing is, if Iowa is able to land the right coach, big name, especially like Darian DeVries, there's a good chance that he is going to bring the talent, or at least some of the talent that he has with him, to Iowa. Including possibly his. I don't know what year his son is in. Actually, his son's probably graduation year, but I think I saw somewhere that maybe he got injured or something. I'd have to check that out. But either way, even if it's not his son, he would bring a lot of the talent that he has to Iowa. But Owen Freeman is, of course, an excellent piece. There's a decent chance, though, that Owen Freeman is kind of just hearing the offers out. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. Hearing the offers, and then if Iowa is able to hire a coach relatively quickly, that coach can go to Owen Freeman, give him his pitch, why it's good for him to stay at Iowa and why he'll be successful at Iowa. And yeah, as far as Owen Freeman leaving, like I said, he's a good kid. I've communicated with him, especially at the beginning when he was choosing to go to Iowa. He's played hard. He's a passionate guy. And he does have talent. Can Iowa find somebody like him, of course. I mean, he's not an irreplaceable talent, but, I think all things being equal, that's a guy that you probably want to keep. So we'll see. We'll see what guys decide to transfer here in the coming days. Don't be surprised, guys, if at least half of the Iowa roster puts their name in the transfer portal. Do not be surprised if they do. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, like, comment. You guys know the drill. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow. In fact, our feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. Love you, Hawk fans. See you guys next time. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.